Hey, this is Meredith Elliott. Powell, you know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Eastern, Saturday morning, my favorite time of the week, hanging out here with my partner, Mark Hunter, and it is time for a Sales Logic. Mark, what is on tap for today?
Well, we're going to talk about how to guarantee that you're going to hit your sales goal. Doesn't that sound like an info commercial? It's going to be
Yeah, that is a great topic. Maybe I'll learn a thing or two.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
All right, before Mark really dives into the details of today's show, I always like to start out by telling you and inviting you to be a part of Sales Logic. If you've got a question, we'll feature you right here on the show. Just go to saleslogicpodcast.com. And if you are really looking for ways that you can guarantee you'll hit your sales goal, think about joining the Sales Logic Mastermind. All right, Mark, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, so let's talk about this. How to guarantee you'll hit your sales goal. I'm going to tell you right now, the way you guarantee it is don't try to hit your sales goal. Go past your sales goal, right? I had to throw that one out first because I knew you would come with that right away.
Well, I was really kind of thinking about this and was thinking, how do you guarantee that you'll hit your sales goal? And I think it's a little like you. I mean, I would say stop focusing on the sales goal. It's kind of like doing anything in life that we didn't all set a goal to, focus on the fact that we were going to grow up and have successful careers. We did the work. And I think the most important part of getting a sales goal is determining how you're going to hit it. I mean, really like breaking it down step by step to determine what is it going to take to hit that. If I wanted to hit 100,000 a month, what is that going to take? What am I going to need to do on a daily basis? The power of that is that you start to control what you're going, you get some level of control over the sales goal.
That is so good. That fits in well with the question we got this week from Maria in Singapore. She says, hey, I'm new to sales, just started. I'm excited and scared at the same time. My sales goal won't kick in for a couple more months. What are the best strategies I can put into place to ensure? I threw it in the brain, and one of the first things that came back is focus on the activity. And the brain, that's our AI agent that we've created for all of the members in the Sales Logic Mastermind. But it said, focus on the activities. And that's so spot on. Because again, you got to reverse engineer what it's going to take for you to achieve your number.
Yeah, and I would say that, first of all, I love Singapore. Lucky you. The second is that, start to look around at, don't reinvent the wheel. Look at the people who are most successful in your organization and figure out what activities they're doing and they're using. So as you can put your process together. Now, don't completely replicate because you're different. They also may have been in the business 30 years. And when people ask me all the time for my sales habits, I'm happy to share them, but you've got to understand I've been in my business 20 years. There's some leverage I get with that. And you may need to do things a little bit differently, but I would say start there. I am always assessing what people around me are doing that is making them more successful than me.
But as you assess, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is what's so key. So many times what happens is people will struggle and they feel they have to start over from square one. No, the assessment normally is just a small tweak, a small change. And I love John's comment, create good habits. That's what it is. It's creating good habits and then just tweaking them. Because again, consistency is going to help you. And that's the only way you're going to be able to achieve the daily activities. It's funny, we always hear about KPIs, key performance indicators. I hate that term. I'd rather have DPI, daily performance indicators. Because if I'm not achieving a certain number of activities every day, how will I ever achieve my key performance indicators? So, I got to focus on my DPI, daily performance indicators.
I really wonder if anybody will Google out there, where the heck did the expression throw the baby out with the bathwater come from? What a weird expression, right? Don't you always wonder where those things started? All right. The other thing I'm going to say is, because Mark brought it up with KPIs or DPIs as he prefers, is that you do need to track and hold yourself accountable. Just because you put a process in place doesn't mean that process works. In fact, I probably change my process. I don't know. I probably tweak it every 3 to 4 months. Some things I'm in the middle of a mass overhaul right now, really trying something radically different. But you don't know that it's going to work, and so you don't want to get complacent. But you need to track so that you can measure: did those behaviors, did those activities get the result that you want?
Now, you may have shocked people by saying radical change, because you're still going to be doing tons of activity. You're still going to be doing all of those things that you always do, and that's what's key. I mean, again, you're not completely going all the way back. I love John Register's comment this morning. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Yes, that's a quote by James Clear, an excellent book that every salesperson could read, Atomic Habits. And it is. Your habits will dictate the results you achieve. So Maria in Singapore, that's what it's about. And for all of us, how do you guarantee? But I want to break this down further, because let's get down into some specific activities, because one of the things that I find is guarantee that you're going to hit your sales goals. People will sit there and say, I'm only going to go after the whales. I'm only going after the big opportunities. And the problem is those don't come in. You've got to have that mix. You've got to have that mix of smaller opportunities, medium opportunities, and bigger opportunities in your pipeline. And it's a combination of those that's going to allow you to achieve your goal. Now, I don't know if you agree with that, disagree with that. Love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, it was funny. I was just talking, a speaker called me the other day and wanted to know about how do you balance your life with work-life balance and things like that. And they were asking me about, telling me what their fee was and the high fee it was. And I said, I really put things I like to go out on really high whales, so to speak, but there are a lot of work, there are a lot of pressure, and there are a lot of stress, and there's a lot of risk. If they come through, it's great. If they don't, it is a big hole in your ability to achieve your sales goal. So I think peppering your sales pipeline with small wins and big whales it's a lot less stress and a lot smarter way to go.
And one of the ways that I look at it is at the beginning of the year, you just get your quota. You can spend a little more time focused on whales because you have all year to close it. But don't sit there and say suddenly at the end of the fiscal year, your number's going to come up short. You're going to go, now's the time to go after whales. That's not going to happen. It's not, because of the lead time, because of the challenges it's going to take. This is why you have to look at your calendar. You have to look at your number. You have to look at how many contacts is it going to take? How many touches is it going to take? And you've got to fill your pipeline accordingly. Bill Snow is saying you got to have A, B, C, and D accounts. You're right. That is. And, the D accounts, I don't find those as very small accounts. I find those are the repeatable accounts. Those are the accounts that they're going to come in. They're going to happen. I'm going to get sales from them on a continuous basis. And again, that's how you have to begin breaking it down.
So a D account for you is an account that you're going to get business from on a.
Well, in other words, in other words, A accounts, those are those big opportunities, those great accounts. I love them, love them, love them. B accounts, the medium, C is smaller accounts. And I just kind of call the D accounts. Those are accounts that I just know. I mean, I've got them in my hip pocket. They are going to be there continuously. You might be in a warehouse supply business. And so you're servicing accounts, and there are accounts that every week they order from you. Those I call those the D accounts.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the reason I asked you the question is because I totally classify A, B, C, and D completely differently. And I think I love that Bill put it in here. And I think what you need to do, I think maybe the bigger message is classify your accounts and the amount of time that you're going to spend on them and what they're going to net you and where they fit in your, in your pipeline process. The other thing I think you need to do in order to guarantee you hit your sales goal is to sell whether you need to sell or not. It's probably one of the biggest It's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see salespeople make in their inability to achieve goal. And that is when they're busy, and it's hard. Many of us hunt, skin, and then service the account, right? Many of us do all of that. But even when you have hunted incredibly well, and you're in the process of skinning and delivering, you still have to continue to hunt. It is better to hunt on a daily basis than it is to try to hunt at big it take big chunks of time, or hunt when you need it because you're completely in a different state of mind.
Can't stress that one enough. I was with an organization a week ago, and all of their salespeople have major accounts, and that constitute about 70% of their business. But then there's another 30 that they have to go out and hunt for. And what's happened is a lot of them have become complacent. They're just willing to accept the 70. And I was stressing with the sales managers and so forth, this is on you, because what you're doing is you're rewarding existing behavior, because all your commentary, all your questions are, hey, how are these existing accounts going? You're not focused enough on new. You have to create a level of focus on prospecting all the time.
Yeah, I love what Natalie is saying here. Natalie, she said, create short and long-term goals and remember to celebrate the small wins. It can be having a meeting with a key target. I love this. And especially if you're a sales leader, listen to what Natalie is saying right here. I was just on with a executive level leader yesterday in a coaching session, and they're so focused on what they need to be doing. He's like, we don't celebrate at all what we've done and how far we've come. I do need to mention, thank you, John Register. Don't throw the baby out with the bottle. It comes from a time when families shared a single wash tub. By the end, the water was so dirty that the baby, bathed last, could barely be seen. If not careful, someone might toss out the water, baby and all. I love that. Wouldn't you hate to be the last baby?
hey, I was the youngest kid in the family. I was the last kid to get in the bathtub on Saturday nights. Okay. So anyway, but hey, let's come back to this conversation. And you said something, focus on the opportunity. And this is what's so key. We have to look at what is the opportunity and what is the time it's going to take. And you got to be measuring both of those. You have to be, because otherwise what happens is you may have something with big opportunity, but again, it's going to require too much time. You may have something that's really easy to get, but there's no volume. You've got to be able to match those two. Absolutely. Hey, I love Thomas's comments. Build great relationships. You're right. You want to have other people out there who are carrying the water for you, other people who are helping to open doors, other people who are helping to educate you and helping you create those additional opportunities that you need.
Yeah, I think the power in what Thomas is saying here is let people know what you can do to help them, stay away from what you can sell them. What a great little shift in mindset. When it comes to guaranteeing you're going to hit the sales goal, I mean, I'm going to be transparent here. I had a very slow start to the year. I mean, my poor husband, I was running around January and February just going, nothing's going to come in. I mean, nothing's going to come in. And I think the hardest mindset is, first of all, we tore apart my sales process and really looked at it and saw and analyzed where a lead was coming in, or where we could get a meeting. And we noticed a dramatic shift in the sales process. So we spent the end of January, beginning of February, overhauling my sales process. In the last couple of weeks, I have been covered up. I cannot breathe. So much business is coming in. So my point is, my point in all of that is, number one, you have to keep going even when it isn't working. You do not control when the business will come in, and you may miss the first quarter sales goal. You may blow it out of the water on the second. It is year end that you're looking for. Quarterly is to measure, but the second is you've got to keep doing the work, but don't just do the same thing assuming it's going to get you results. You got to analyze it and look at it. And I really feel like change in administration shifted my market, shifted my decision makers, shifted what my clients wanted. And if I hadn't paid attention to that, I wouldn't be busy in March.
Well, that's why we're seeing this as a conversation, excuse me, because it is so real. There's so many changes out there in the economy. And I'm hearing this, I'm seeing this from a lot of companies I'm working with. Hey, some of our customers just aren't there anymore, or they're being very hesitant. So for a lot of people, this may mean that really, how do I guarantee? I've got to put more prospects in my funnel. I've got to put more prospects. And that's what I'm telling people. if you're faced with this where people are hesitant, what does this mean? This means a longer sales process, a longer. Yeah. So what does it mean? It means you have to be prospecting more to get more people into that funnel, or you're going to wind up coming up short at the end of the year, period.
Yeah, I love what Andy's saying here. Set goals for organic, new account, and referral growth strategy separately. I love that too. I started, that was something I started doing too, started tracking my referrals separately. And I had never done that before. And it made such a great change. Natalie says, be sure you have the infrastructure and support when you land a big account so you can continue to develop growth opportunities, right? Like if you have to really stop everything you're doing to support that, you're going to be in really big trouble.
And I see that happen so many times with account managers. They land this account and then they have to spend the next month just kind of onboarding that account. And what does that do? That takes time away from them. So yeah, they may have gotten the initial sale. So this is the whole thing. Salespeople, you got to be thinking all the way through what is going to be your time to land them as a prospect, what's going to be the time it's going to take to nurture them to that customer closing state, and what's going to be the time you're going to have to spend with them after the fact. And this is where it's a good sign as you're prospecting, as you're selling them, you're going to begin to understand what's going to be their level of need. What is going to be their level of need? And I'm going to tell people right now, and I told this to some salespeople the other day, I said, if you have a high maintenance prospect, you don't want them as a customer, period.
Right.
I mean, again, you don't have time for that. You've got to make sure that you put your focus in those people who will understand your value. And the most difficult ones are the ones who are buying you on price. If they're buying you on price, they're never going to understand your value proposition, period. Run from those people, period.
Yeah, I love what John Wan is saying here. He says, for new salespeople, he shares something that Robert Hervaic said. Good salespeople sell products, better ones sell outcomes, and the best sell feelings. Build your relationship group. I think the other thing to know too, if you want to hit your sales goal, just face it, it's work. It is nothing more. There isn't luck involved. There isn't anything like that. It is, are you willing to do? I just interviewed Carson Eady the other day, such a good friend of ours and just a legend in the sales arena. And we were just talking about the fact that everybody asks you for the magic bullet, and there isn't a magic bullet. You got to be really clear on who your prospect is, who is making that decision, who wants your product. And then what are you doing day in and day out to get in front of them? And what is your value proposition? Why would they even talk to you? And then what's your follow-up cadence? What are you doing to stay in touch, and continue to add value so you move them over the edge? And it is always sales first.
And when you do that, it's amazing how easy it really becomes. Because it becomes a very repetitive process. That's what Carson always talks about, how it's a repetitive process. It's what James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, talks about. You have to be absolutely consistent in your activities. And again, this is where salespeople fall down, because what they do is they look at the big number. Oh, I'm falling short of my big number. And they fail to realize, don't worry about the big number. Worry about the activities. If you do the activities, you'll get the big number. But it's a distortion of where they put their mind. And what happens is then the stress begins to kick in, and they naturally begin to go after the big whale. And the big whale doesn't always come in. Yeah.
No, and then when it does come in, it comes in with a lot of stress. Love what Dave Sanderson is saying here. Focus on the gain, not the gap. I think that's Dan Sullivan, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Bill King, I track my sales team's progress in each stage of the sales process weekly to hit their goals. That's right. You can figure out where the process is falling down. Mark, we are burning time here. What's up on the book?
Hey, the book, our good friend Victor Antonio's come out with a brand new book, The Future of Sales, The Rise of AI Agents. Is this timely or what? And the book is out right now. Go to Amazon, get it. Victor is so incredibly smart.
Yeah, what I love about Victor is that he focuses really on the human side of AI. And I think by reading what he's got, you're going to really figure out where AI fits into the sales process. And when we were interviewing Tiffany Bova on Sales Logic Expert Exchange, she was saying it is the salesperson that can automate the most that is going to win.
That's so true, because what's that allowing you to do? It's allowing you to do the activity faster. Very simple. That's why you got to get the book. Hey, our good friend Jack Hubbard has jumped in. Do the right things every day, and the outcomes will take care of themselves. And the right things are the activities that are focused on helping your customers. Jack, always great to hear from you.
Yeah. We got a quick question from John
Yeah.
Register. We have been conditioned to purchase differently. Amazon has us buying in price and it makes it hard for value. I just tried building my own Amazon cart, set my value on 3 tiers, and 2 clients have purchased my middle package. No questions asked. I've only done this for 2 months. What do you think? I think absolutely. I think it is about an Amazon buyer is not a value buyer. Right? So it is about knowing your prospect. There is always a value buyer out there. We put together a package for my business as well, and it's selling like hotcakes. So I think it is about knowing your buyer and not if your competitor conditioned the buyer, it's because you let them condition the buyer. You need to condition the buyer.
And that means you're not going after 100% of the marketplace. I'm going to steal a comment out of Jim Senegal, kind of the co-founder of Costco. Says, yeah, we sell aspirin in 600 tablets per bottle. We found that works best. You're right. There's a lot of people who aren't going to buy from us. We don't care. We don't care. We're going to sell this one. And that's what you focus in on. That's great. Great.
All right.
Yeah. Lightning round. You ready?
I am.
Top 10 ways to gain more sales knowledge. Go.
I would say the best way, top 10, if I'm going to go with my number 1, best way to get sales knowledge is to talk to your customers and listen to them.
2, you have to spend 30 minutes a day studying your craft. 30 minutes a day.
Number 3, I would say, as much as people hate it, I think one of the best ways to get really good intel is role playing. I mean, you role play, you learn so much and you're able to adjust.
3, who are you associating with? I've said this line a number of times. It's why we have the Sales Logic Mastermind. But Jim Rohn said it. You become the sum of the 5 people you associate with the most. Be careful.
Yeah, I would say that follow sales experts and thought leaders. I think that's really pick out people that you admire their work, you think maybe work in your industry or know a lot more about them, and follow them.
Get into listening to podcasts. It's why we do Sales Logic podcast, because again, it's a podcast, but every morning when I'm working out, I'm listening to a podcast, helping me increase my knowledge.
Yeah, I would say really spend some time, listening to the news, reading the newspaper, reading industry magazines, because it isn't just about your sales skills. It's about really understanding the economic indicators as well as what's happening in the industry.
That's so true, because so many times we can get so narrow focused. We don't see the forest because we're so close to the tree. You've got to expand your world and understand what's happening out there, because there's so many dynamics impacting everything.
Yeah, interview really amazing salespeople, whether they're in your industry or they're not in your industry. But what is it that they do, not only in the sales practice, but what are their habits outside of sales? Like I was talking to a guy the other day who's built unbelievable companies, and he's into the cold plunge in the morning. He meditates every morning. Just listening who he is, I was thinking, I got up my game.
And that's so powerful. One of the things you really have to take a look at is, do you have an inquisitive mind? If you look at the great people throughout society, they always are inquisitive. They're asking questions, they're challenging, they're looking at everything. Never stop being inquisitive.
Yeah. And last but not least, let's wrap this up. I would say listen to the Sales Logic podcast. And if you want to continue to learn, you want to continue to expand your sales skills, think about joining the Sales Logic Mastermind. All right, Mark, that's a wrap for today.
With that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you $1, consider telling a friend about our show, would you? Because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. Every week, you all are an amazing audience. Such good insights this morning. We'll see you right back here next week, 8 a.m. Eastern, for another episode of Sales Logic. Until then, go close a deal.